Welcome to Front Row with Michael J. Curtis.
Boss of all boss.
A podcast where we dive into the world of pop culture, politics, entertainment, and more.
What's going on, people? My name is Michael J. Curtis. I am host of Front Row with Michael J. Curtis. If you'll notice, we are doing a virtual show. You're going to see my co-host for this evening. To my right, probably to your left, it's going to be actually Joey Jackson Streeter. Everybody clap your hands up, clap it 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 up. Woo!
What's good? What's going on?
What's happening?
Nothing much.
You know
Got
what?
a little beverage going. I'm ready to get into some things.
You know, it's a lot going on in the world. We have actually made a move, or at least you have,
Yes.
to the other side of the country. So, how has that been?
Houston is great. I'm glad that I actually just took the opportunity and just jumped on it and went. Things are starting to line up and get together. Get You a Piece is going to be on a hiatus for the summer as I have to, build my home studio down here because I want to do things the same way that I was doing them prior to. So I'm just taking that time to really invest in myself while I am here in Houston. And shit, we'll be back full force. I'm saying August. I definitely want to be back up and running in August for season 3. Probably a little rebrand as well. I want to come fresh.
Probably a little rebranding. Hold on a second.
But Houston is lit. I mean, you were here this past weekend.
I enjoy Houston a whole lot. So for me, Houston
you had a good time.
I had an awesome time. I'm not even gonna lie. When I came down to Houston, I wasn't expecting what I got. I was just expecting just to show up. You know what I'm saying? Just to be in the place. I didn't know that it was gonna, be such a good time. So and it was a really good time actually. So I'm with it.
Were a good time as well.
My cousins, my cousins are lit.
I already had a nice little buzz when we pulled up to 220.
Yeah.
But then when we went over to Candy Shack, I was like, oh, so I got my frozen drink, plus they buying the jello shots, and then we was playing games too. It was a good time. You missed out.
Yeah. I didn't.
Oh no, you had some other things, and I
had other things planned. I was like, I didn't. Look. No, I have to go check something else out. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I had as much of a good time as you did.
Well.
No, but it's actually pretty fun to go down, get out of the city. I needed a break from Milwaukee, and leaving Milwaukee and coming back, we came back to some different type of news. And I actually didn't even get a chance to get on the plane before I got a call or a message or an inbox from my cousin, cousins, who said, "Hey, this is their story going on about Frank Nitty. Have you seen it?"
I've been seeing this. I don't know any ins or outs. I try to stay out of the nonsense that involves him.
You know what? This is the thing for me personally. I didn't even. I'm gonna say it like this: Frank Nitty has a following that you can't deny. So when a person comes on and says, "Well, this happened or that happened," Diggs, by the way, what's going on? Hey, what's up, G? What's going on? What's up, Diggs? BTW? I don't know what that means. Diggs, by the way, what's going on? But yeah, so as we were coming back, there was a young lady by the name of Ebony. Let me get her name. Ebony Anderson McElvain. I want to say that's how you say her name. And so she went live. And she described, sexual, what she felt or interprets as mouth rape, sexual assault. And so, in speaking with her, I'm asking, other story. We went live and discussed it before. She actually just did a march today at around 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, she did a march at 4. And really just discussing the fact that she feels like he's out here, he's an activist, and he's done these things. Now, the part that is a little hard for me is watching Black women and their kind of reaction to her. I've already said that though. And in kind of the movement. It seems like people are between a rock and a hard place as far as understanding her story of being assaulted while she was sleeping, and she wakes up. They smoke weed. She goes to sleep. She wakes up with his stuff on her face. Then he putting it all over her face.
Whoa.
Basically. Yeah.
Where did the consent go?
The thing about it is, she said there wasn't any consent because she was asleep. So that's her thing. She didn't get a chance to like really give consent to everything that was going on. So she feels as though she was now she feels from what she's explaining, she was assaulted. Yeah. Right? And we can't even call it anything other than what it is. It is. If she sleep, you don't get any permission, you don't get consent, and then you proceed to put your member in her face or anything. So Didi said, let's hear y'all take on it. My take, seriously, my take is this. It really hasn't changed from, I believe, when I talked about it Wednesday. Mm-hmm. It hasn't changed in more than what I've understood. We still don't know. You still can't. We still have to really figure out what's going on there. You have another lady by the name of J9 DeVito, who says that there's an algorithm or some type of algorithm or cyber wall that was created by her, and that Frank took advantage of that in using that, her words, right? In using that, she says he took advantage of the people and scammed the people. Now, I am specifically asking how. She says she can't really answer that, but she feels as though Frank has gotten a lot of money from his Cash App, which has not been disclosed to other people, which is a method that she taught him or gave him.
Let's use the word alleged.
Allegedly. This is from what she says. That's why I said it's from what she says, not me. I'm not saying anything. She's saying it. Mm-hmm. Now, I know for a fact from her mouth to my ears, she said. Now, as far as whether it happened or not, I can't speak on that.
So what is the correlation between the sexual assault and this?
Well, according to her, she was, Frank, I don't want to say he sexually assaulted her, but they were in a van near some type of, I believe what they call it, a clubhouse for him, or a club he had, or something or another. And in the parking lot, in the back of that establishment, Frank apparently came onto her in a van and did something. And in that dance, I believe was inappropriate, but he did not assault her. She was clear to say, they were clear to say nothing happened, but his advance to her, I believe.
He felt uncomfortable.
Basically. Okay. It's hard in the Me Too movement to really have an opinion of this, because you have, on one hand, you want to give these women an actual platform to say their story, to speak. But on the other hand, you want to be able to say to this man, hey, you're innocent until proven guilty. We can't really just say you're guilty out here right off the bat and say we're gonna throw you under the bus that fast.
I'll say this, and this is going to be no shade, my only opinion on it. I stand in correlation with every member, participant of the Me Too movement, because myself, gay black man from Milwaukee, I have been sexually assaulted as well. So I understand what it's like to, not be able to fully share your story all the time and be able to fully verbalize that. Right. So I stand in solidarity with the young lady in that aspect, because again, allegedly, we have to use the word alleged, because again, that's proven, but the alleged, that's not good. Also, in the other token, we also have to understand that Frank Nitty is someone who already has very skewed views when it comes to the LGBT community in correlation with the Black community. So automatically, me, Joey, of Get You a Piece podcast, I don't give a fuck if they throw him under the jail, put him on the side of the jail, put him on the roof of the motherfucking jail. I don't care if they put him in solitary. Like, I don't really give any fucks about Frank, because when it was time for the community to stand in solidarity together as a whole, he wanted to make concessions for certain members of the community. And
when he said, yeah. And then, I don't mean to interrupt you, that is something that absolutely is a valid point. But then let's also have this discussion. You have a person who, while we don't agree with his views about everything that he does, he's now sitting in a position where he's a leader. And he has done something for some group, right? And some group of people. And so Frank Nitty has done this from my understanding, you know what I mean? He's done this for some time, not the sexual assault, but the actual activism part. Yeah, so he's been doing this for some time. When he asked, did you have a chance to catch his live on the other day? The thing about catching his live is no, I didn't catch it. And to be honest with you about this, the whole interesting part and like the player in this that seems to be garnering some attention, or probably the most attention, is Von Mays. Are you seeing his lives? He goes like, and the problem I have with Von, and I'm watching, and the issue I have with Von is, while I think activism is amazing, and while I think you holding him accountable is great, I think the way that he's going about it is messy as hell. And it's not conducive to the position that he holds. So even if you're looking at this and you're saying, this man, I feel like this man did this, you haven't even given a chance for him to, come. You already marching in front of his house.
In no shade, I kind of blame that on the social media world that we live in. Not really about, okay, let's talk to the authorities and, give those stories to the authorities and let them do the investigation, because shade, they don't got it all cracked up and they're not the best ones to be doing it either. But we all have this whole like detective mentality inside of ourselves where we want to sit down and, okay, so let me figure out what happened this day and what was happening over there. Like, girl, it's not Law and Order Special Victim Unit over here with me. Okay. Yeah.
My whole thing is this, and Didi said we sure the hell did. But here's my point though, Didi. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Can we say that?
Oh yeah.
So that same civil rights movement that looked at Black men being accused of rape and other things and it not being true, and defending Black men, you can't just go. It seems like there's a pendulum. Like it never goes to the middle. It's either over here or it's over here. It's never like, okay, let's be objective. Let's make sure we get everything taken care of. Holding him accountable, I think that's the biggest, absolutely. Nobody is saying don't. I think leaders should definitely absolutely be held accountable. But what happens when you've done all this marching and you've said all that you said and you've created flyers and you did all of these different marches and you got his face is on sticks and all of that. And to me, it seems like the motivator has nothing to do with the victims.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? To me, it seems personal. It seems like this is something that has, while it does have something to do with the victims, I think this is a personal thing between Frank, between Von, and whoever else is a part of it. I'm not saying that everybody who's marching
definitely the people who have been leading the charge in the community to try to bring forth change when it comes to the civil rights movement are now vying for position in that same thing. Look at the Black Lives Matter movement. Like a lot of the people who are in leadership for that organization across the country and in other countries are now being investigated for the same type of things when it comes to money laundering and sexual assault and all this different type of stuff. So again, higher levels, higher devils. I feel like Frank should have been prepared for things like this to happen if you are going to stand on the front lines and lead the charge.
Right. Let's address Didi really quick. Didi said, so people pulled up. Who pulled up? I think that's what she wanted to say. People who pulled up had many different issues with him. It wasn't all about the rape situation. It wasn't only about the money issue. Those are things that are blowing out. Well, Didi, here's my question. What conversation did y'all really think you were going to have? Pulling up outside that man's house and marching, yelling, y'all got blowhorns. What conversation, what dialogue did y'all think you were going to get from that? What was the end goal? That's what I want to know. What was the end goal with marching on his street, yelling and blowhorns, having all these signs, because here's the thing. Y'all either could be really right or y'all could be really wrong.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? And so if these things are not happening in the way that we understand it, how is it possible, in the way that we're understanding it now, how are y'all going to be able to have credibility after this if you were wrong? John Schuster said it was for his followers. It was for whose followers, John? I need you to be specific.
Von's followers?
Is it Von? Are we talking about Frank? Let me understand. Because that's my biggest thing. It's being able to navigate it as a community. I really think the community has to have a community conversation. I did see Ravon and Frank and it's another activist. Dang it, I forgot his name. They're open. Another guy he proposed, Nitty. It was for his followers, for Nitty's followers. So my whole thing is, okay, yeah, y'all are doing that, but let's have a further conversation of making sure everybody is considered, because the civil rights movement doesn't just represent one faction; it represents all. And like even in the beginning of this, when you were speaking about Frank, Von followers are not the only ones who pulled up. Okay, hold on a second. So then you have this issue of.
Okay, I'm confused. Quick question. Mm-hmm. So because I saw what he said, that it wasn't just Von's followers that pulled up. So was it a out activist off? Like, we gonna out yell y'all? Like, what was going on? What was the purpose of both parties pulling up at his place?
Or either party, because understand the victims were not out there.
No shame. Why got man's house?
Or the alleged victims, I want to say. I don't think they were there. And I was actually, I believe, speaking with Ebony at the time. So I don't think she was there. So how is it possible to have a real conversation, to have a real discussion, when you already out here protesting, whether you're Von's followers, whether you're whoever follower you are, right? We as a community have to be able to police ourselves in a way that's not you shouting and walking down the man's street and standing in front of his house. Not knowing or not verifying or not being able to check the validity at the moment we haven't done that, or vet the validity of the claims. You are already in front of his house. You've already decided that he's guilty.
And then too, like, I'm a firm believer in like not being in uncontrolled environments. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, if some shit was to pop off, that man was gonna protect his home, himself. If he had family members in there, like, it's just the way I feel like things could have been gone about if that was going to be what happened, Yeah,
it could have happened a lot better. And actually knowing that leaders were there and that's the way that it went down wasn't necessarily kind of, to me, outside looking in, it didn't look good. I'll put it that way. So people pulled up who have issues with him. Ebony was not there, but the other people who had issues with him definitely took turns telling him their issues. But here's the part that I'm trying to understand.
Did you get a response?
Did you get what was the outcome? Did you really get what you were looking for as you all were standing out there with a blowhorn and everything else in front of his house? Was your end goal met, is what I really want to know.
Because I am very much a Libra, and I don't argue with people. I'm not going to argue. So if you're giving me a lot of rah, and there's no response coming back, at this point, it looks like you're just coming across as angry. What solutions are being done? And again, this is not me standing up on Frank's side. This is just me being a human being.
And I want people to be clear about this. I'm not on either side. I want to know really what happened.
Okay, I don't live in Milwaukee County, so I don't know what's going on. I'm just being very non-biased to the fact of like, girl, if you had if there was, and when I use girl, y'all, this is just me, like me being me. I'm giving y'all what I give on my show. Check me out. Get You a Piece podcast, available on all streaming platforms. But I'm just giving you a piece of me. So like, girl, if you coming at me with all this extra, and I don't care to give you any response back. Now, again, it looks like you're just coming across as angry and you're not coming to me in the proper way to start to open up the conversation.
And where do we lose? Are we throwing out, and I keep saying this, using this analogy because I really want to have this conversation. Are we throwing out the baby with the bathwater? We got to have that conversation. Are we throwing out the baby with the bathwater? While we are hearing you, and I want to bring these other comments up before I say what I say. Okay, so then we have John who says, I'm not sure why it happened that way, but it had to happen, and probably will happen again. It showed Nitty's followers that some of Milwaukee doesn't support dude. Okay, I can deal with that. Did you have to be on this block to do this? That's really the question I'm asking. I'm not saying that you all shouldn't have rallied. I'm not saying you all shouldn't have gotten together. I'm not saying support of the victims should not have happened, because absolutely, in seeing the reception of the people, the alleged victims, I want to say, seeing the reception of them and how people receive them, I can understand why you were paying more attention to that. But here's the issue that I have. Mm-hmm. When you are saying, okay, I support the victims, great, or alleged victims, great. How are we moving forward? And even if you're saying there were different conversations being had, is this the right forum? Is being on a man's street, standing on his porch, knocking on his door, yelling through a blowhorn, holding up a sign to say he a clown, is that really, that's where we at with it? That's just what I'm trying to understand, y'all. That's it. Didi says different people.
I'll tell you why it is where we are, because again, that's the culture that we live in. That's what the world has, like, you know, that's what the world's come to. It's how it's molded. It's just it is what it is, unfortunately. However, again, I don't stand with anything that he's done in the past or is currently doing allegedly. And I also do agree with the fact of people who have grievance with someone, letting that grievance be known and told. But it's all in how it's handled and how it's done. Because again, what response have you thus far? That's what I want.
So, she's great. Then we gotta go. Didi says people have asked him to meet them, and he didn't. People are tired of him, so they pulled up. I'm pretty sure she wants to say pulled up.
I mean, that makes sense. I get it.
You gotta give it to him. If it's a way to handle it, it's a way to get his attention. I just was like, are we trying to burn down the bridge? Are we burning down the village to handle this one man? That's my question. Are we burning the village down just to get to him? And I think that was something that the alleged victims tackled, were struggling with. And that's something that the people around them were struggling with as well, especially according to Ebony, where they were saying he was an asset to the movement. And that's why initially, being advised that, she didn't come forward. You see what I'm saying? J9 said J9 is speaking with her. She shared that I have been through past trauma. So to me, being through so much of that trauma, this was small to me. I didn't really look at it as, oh, he was being inappropriate. Oh, I did see it as him being inappropriate, but I dealt with it so much, she become desensitized to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So becoming desensitized to it, she's like, and a lot of people ask, well, why didn't you say anything? It's going, well, is this a big enough? I've been through bigger sexual assault than this. Is this really something that's big enough for me to tear the entire movement down in order to get it taken care of? And that's a question she had, right? Do I want to tear the movement down to get this, or how that works? Larry said, hey, son.
Hey, Ma.
So the issue for me now is, how do we move forward? And so here's Didi. But truth be told, he could be an asset, but he doesn't use the clout to do anything. That's what people are seeing. I'm not going to disagree on that perception. I don't know if it's fact, but I will say that perception is very popular. I'll put it that way, Didi. You are right. The movement isn't being torn down for him. Didi, I'll get ready to send you a link in a minute. Okay, and there we go. The village should be coming together for the families in Racine, but I'm going to try and mind my own business, Didi. No, don't mind your business, John. We're here to have a forum, public forum. We're talking. It's good. Good that you're sharing your opinion. I'm actually glad you're doing that. So the village should come together for families in Racine, but also the village needs to come together to make sure that if this is truly happening, if this is truly going on, and I'm not going to say I don't believe these women, I just want to say that I want to give that man a chance to be tried, and not by public perception, but more so about what's really going on, right? If the DA has an investigation into it and they're investigating currently, then we want to give them a chance to do that and see what's going on. But also, I said before in another video that we can't wait for a jury to say he's guilty for us to be doing the work to make sure things like this aren't happening in the community. So while I do agree with this group addressing it and saying, hey, we support the victims and really showing that solidarity, I just don't know if that was the best method. Me, personally. But when you're in situations like this, chances are you just got to get to what you're doing and handling.
It's all very sticky.
Yeah. So outside of that, moving on, we're gonna get the story is continuing to go on. Currently, they said that according to one of his alleged victims, he's actually currently under investigation for a number of women by the Milwaukee DA, and we shall see what comes of that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do? Personally, a public forum. I think at this moment, right now, Frank needs to have a public forum. I think he needs to come out and say something outside of being on his live broadcast. I believe that the community has to have the opportunity to ask questions. This is the same community that has helped him in moving forward in his goals but you also have to look at making sure that we as a community, if there is something to salvage there, that we can, right? And kind of make that work on both ends and make sure everybody's getting what they need to get. As far as Frank getting his fair shot and saying, hey, I'm not guilty, or I am, or as far as these victims getting their fair shot of saying, hey, this is what happened to me. You know what I'm saying? I want you to hear me out and hear my story. And that's basically what happened. Thank you, TPR and Vaughn, for helping Racine. John, why don't you elaborate? Because it seems like Racine is something that's very big for you. Do you live in Racine? Here we go. So moving on, we'll come back to Frank at some later time. George Floyd, teen who recorded murder gets Pulitzer Prize special citation. Isn't that cool? So the video that we saw of George Floyd and the knee on his neck, there was a young teenager who recorded the entire altercation. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So she recorded the whole thing. So in her recording the entire thing, she now has a Pulitzer Prize citation. So we want to clap it up for her. Without that video, and without a number of different videos, look, hey, I think that was our Frank people there. Without that video, I think a lot of people. So Frank is not going to, because people tried to play nice. It says Frank is not going to do that because people tried to play nice. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't I'm not saying that the accusation shouldn't be blasted. Understand that. I'm not saying that people should know the allegations are out there. I'm not saying you all should make it known. And I get that Frank is hesitant, but if he's smart, he would understand that in order for you to be an asset or of value in this community has to trust you.
Yep.
If you don't know that you need that type of currency to be in the position that you're in, then it's really sad for him, because you really have to. People got to trust you. People got to think that you worth your weight.
Also, what people have to understand too is that when your notoriety grows, even if it's in a bomb ass cook, and your notoriety grows at certain levels, you have to change the way that you operate in your personal business. But I feel like Frank hasn't done as of yet, because his power as an activist has grown within the last year or so. We're gonna keep it a buck. He doesn't have the right team around him that's making sure that once these accusations are coming out, conversations are being started. There are press releases coming. He needs PR, point blank period. But he
definitely does. But here's the whole thing: a team can't we can't out team your dirty laundry. Okay.
True, very true. Also, having a team around you would make you a little bit more responsive in how you handle all of your shit coming out.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing that we're speaking about. When you have a person like Frank, who is out on public on the national stage, and this man, y'all have to understand, was at the March on Washington, D.C. He was on national TV, right? Because he had to walk from Milwaukee to D.C., right? People are sending him money. People were sending him money even before then. And when you're doing that, when you're collecting all this money, when you're working with all these different people, when you're shaking hands, and you now become the representation for a group, you all have to understand how critical Milwaukee is to a number of different movements, whether it be a Democratic movement, a Republican movement, whatever. Milwaukee's a very important city when it comes to a lot of things. So people are reaching out to Frank because you have to understand the notoriety he gets as man's been on stage without shirt. Okay, so when that happens, and then he's doing things out here like this, you represent a certain people. Whether we are Black and LGBT and want to be represented, whether he wants to represent us, when people look at Frank, they see the Black Lives Matter movement. So how do we allow that to continue, that representation, and he has these allegations at the same time? I don't disagree with making sure he's held accountable, but I do have questions about how do we hold him accountable. John Schuster says, no, I live in Waukesha, but you might have seen me everywhere in Wisconsin. In Racine, though, 3 people were killed in a week, 2 alone in the county jail. We just helped make sure they had an action plan in Racine. Malcolm James, Justice for Quell. I looked that up, and as always, support programs of Parks Milwaukee. Nice plug. I see that, so I'll add you up there. Program of Parks Milwaukee. So for me, I would like to see this done in a way that, and I don't want to give the impression that Vaughn holding him accountable is something I have a problem with, because it's not. I just think Vaughn has been very messy in the way that he's holding him accountable, and that there's a better way to not be messy. Huh?
I'm sure Vaughn knows that he's being messy. Vaughn knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I think so. When you get to putting on a wig, a dreadlock wig, I think you know what you're doing. But at the same time,
that's trolling. He's trolling Frank.
Yeah, you know what you're doing when you're putting on a wig and all of that. You know what you're doing and kind of how that handles. The person who got the Pulitzer Prize citation, her name is Darnella Frazier. She's a teenager who recorded George Floyd's death under Derek Chauvin's knee. I don't think I ever say his name right. Has just earned a special citation in this year's Pulitzer Prize. So she got a Pulitzer Prize co-chair Mindy Marquise during the Friday announcement that the Floyd story in particular highlighted not only the essential role of journalists, but the increasing importance of ordinary citizens. So she's going to get that and she'll receive that. That's really cool.
Yes,
another thing,
doing her stuff.
It's amazing. It's really good, really cool, and really good to see. Richard Branson, who's the owner of like Virgin Mobile, Virgin Airlines, things like that, who says he wants to be Jeff Bezos to the moon. Moving up the Virgin launch, he's going to be proud that Richard Branson is out to prove he's the billionaire king of space travel, working with his team to beat Amazon's Jeff Bezos and busting out of Earth's atmosphere, according to a new report.
Okay, I'm somewhat of a little bit of a nerd. So Richard Branson, we love everything that you do with Virgin Airlines and your
I just don't know if I'm okay with rushing to space. Like, we can take our time. Like, you ain't gotta rush out to space. I'm cool with that.
And also, what I want a lot of these capitalists to understand is that y'all are throwing all of this different, money into these projects and not seeing them to full completion and full fruition.
Which is why there's a danger of the government not having control of this particular faction. We used to have NASA. We know that this is kind of this new get people to space type thing has kind of sparked out of the funding that kind of hasn't happened for NASA. NASA's kind of taking a back seat to space.
What we gonna do when we get up there? What we doing?
I don't know. I'm gonna follow the lines of Cedric the Entertainer on Original Kings of Comedy, where he said, "Where we gonna have spaceship Cadillacs." I definitely want one, but I think it's gonna be a problem.
Listen,
I think it's gonna be a problem. It's a problem in LA. It's a problem in LA. J-Lo's house has a wave of fake 911 calls. They won't stop, and LAPD is fed up. Someone has beef with Jennifer Lopez.
Her house?
At her house, I'm guessing. Someone has beef with Jennifer Lopez and way too much time on their hands, and it's pissing off cops who continue to get flooded with 911 calls to go to her LA home. Nearly 6 months after this annoyance started, law enforcement sources tell TMZ LAPD units are still responding to the stranger's house because someone keeps calling 911. The singer, excuse me. No, they know that's far-fetched. They call J-Lo a singer. Anyway, the singer's house because someone They could have said dancer. They could have said actress. They said the singer. They
should have used the word entertainer.
They could have used entertainer. The singer. Like what? The singer. The entertainer. We're going to change the entertainer's house because someone keeps calling 911. But we're told this is your typical swatting where people report a fatal shooting or a mass carnage. We're told the 911 caller reports other complaints like loud music or other disturbing noises coming from the house. Our sources say each time officers get to the pad, there's no such disturbance, and J-Lo security tells them everything's fine. In one instance, we're told
Karen.
It's a Karen. It's definitely a Karen. It says in one instance, we're told cops found a gardener at Jennifer's pad, but security quickly assured them the gardener wasn't blaring music. Our sources say cops are struggling to track down the 911 callers because the calls aren't coming from a landline, and the bogus calls have become a huge waste of time and manpower. TMZ broke the story. The call started almost immediately after J-Lo performed at President Biden's inauguration. And the operating theory was the calls were politically motivated. We're told J-Lo security is working with LAPD in an effort to solve the mystery, but it's already such a headache. Cops desperately want the offender busted, convicted, and locked up to the max. Who beefing with J-Lo? Nitty said she loved Richard Branson, white boy crush every day. All right. Nitty said she an activist and she got jungle fever. She wrote Richard Branson. She said she marched in the streets, and if Richard Branson on her number, she got that for him too.
He has the coin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Collected it.
But when it comes to Jenny from the Block's house in these 911 calls, Karen, go ahead and see.
But you know what? It's probably definitely politically motivated. I wouldn't say it wasn't. Yeah. And it's probably Trump supporters petty. They just like the leader. Trump petty. So Trump was probably like, yeah, call, blow her phone up. Play on the phone.
She ain't nobody.
Trump definitely will do that. He'll be like, play on the phone. It's coming. Craziness. Complete craziness. I love it though. I love it because that's another level of petty. And they don't even care. Kim Jong-un, leader of North Korea, is upset. He says K-pop is taking over his country, according to TMZ.
He took his country.
He needs somebody to take over his country. K-pop is probably better a leader than Kim Jong-un. I would give him that.
I listen to BTS and Blackpink all goddamn day to deal rather than deal.
Yeah, he said BTS and K-pop are taking over my country, and he launches a crackdown on fans, very similar to the crackdown that Trump gave for TikTok, which is being reconsidered at the moment.
Listen, that's why I feel like sometimes politics and entertainment should not intermingle. It should not intertwine. They don't really flow together well. A lot of politicians are very, 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 very touchy about a lot of shit that they do themselves.
Yeah, they said the coins and the knowledge, baby. Richard Branson got all of that. I'm going to give it to you. And it's before you are.
Y'all remember them damn Virgin mobile phones from back in the day?
Absolutely. Former prison sergeant who traded female inmate McDonald's for oral sex is now behind bars himself. I hope it was worth it.
Get you a piece. I ain't even mad at him.
Yeah. Coach Sarita says that's because Trump is banned from social media and he's bored. I believe it. We got to find Jeffrey Toobin, the reporter that was on a Zoom call and took out his member and had a little fun.
Go off, Jeffrey.
Hey, Shanita, and had a little fun. On the Zoom call. He returned to CNN and says, hey, it was a stupid mistake. My question for Mr. Jeff Toobin is what was the part of it? Like, was you on the phone? Like, was you on the phone with somebody and you were trying to like show them? You know what I'm saying? Like, was that what you were doing? Or was it like you was recording yourself for your wife? Like, I'm trying to understand, Jeff. What's up? What happened?
I blame Twitter.
Must not heard the revolutionary radio yet. I'm gonna go listen to it. I'm gonna go listen. So then she needed to say, hey y'all, hey, did I miss about Frankie D? We're gonna talk about it in a different way a little bit later. But the whole thing of the matter with this is, I'm just curious, like, how did you show your face? Because even though he doesn't work for that particular establishment anymore, right? Mm-hmm. It's a small circle. You know, it's journalists, so it's not a very big circle, and especially at the level. Everybody knows each other. How? Oh, he forgot to turn off his camera after the Zoom meeting. Oh, and everybody saw him. You gotta hang your camera up in the Zoom meetings. I ain't gonna lie. It's been a number of times I might have been butt naked at work too.
No shade. Ditto. I'm at home.
Bruh. I didn't like getting up and getting
higher look to sit on camera with those. No.
Definitely crazy.
So now I don't know what exactly Jeffrey was doing with
Jeff said he needed to show. He needed to show them that he ain't he a little dude, but he packed a lot of power. That's what he wanted to show everybody, I guess.
Listen.
He had a little pew. He had a little pew.
He's 22.
He had a little pew. I don't know what to say about it. Jeff got a lot going on. But we're glad to see you back, Jeff. We're glad to see you back. So we're going to get back to Frank again. We're going to bring in Coach Sarita, and we're going to have this conversation from a little 20. He definitely had a 22. Sarita. So we're going to bring Coach Sarita later on. We're going to talk about this from the life coach's perspective, and she's going to give us her take on what's been happening with Frank Nitty. So you'll be sure to stay tuned for that, Shanita. The new Israeli government, and maybe I'm just a political nerd, but this is very interesting to me. The new Israeli government seals coalition deals as Netanyahu era approaches its end. Have you been watching this?
No.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. So you know how people say
I'm not a political girl. I like seeing
political nerd.
Megan Thee Stallion, Beyonce. That's what I give. I'm very political.
Oh, don't worry, we got a subject. We got a subject coming up. We're gonna end off on a really good one. I got one for you.
Okay,
the new Israeli government.
Ooh, this is interesting.
Oh, you guys there go. Oh, this is nice. Well, let's start from the beginning. So, you know how people are always like peace in the Middle East, peace in the Middle East, peace in the Middle East. Well, Israel has had the same prime minister for about 12, not prime minister, excuse me, president, whatever you want to call me. Had it for about 12 years, okay? Netanyahu has been in office. Netanyahu is a conservative. He's the head of a conservative party, which is kind of equivalent to our Republican Party, you can kind of say. Okay. There in Israel, okay? What happens is he's had all type of corruption. Let's say he's Israel's Trump. And so now what's happening, he's actually under investigation currently. You have now members of their parliament. They kind of work similar to the UK where the popular vote really decides who's the leader of the country. So let's take, for instance, our House, the House of Representatives. Let's say that's what we wanted to use. In accordance to the House of Representatives, the leader of our country will be a Democrat based off the House of Representatives. If we're going to look at using the whole parliament and everybody having an equal vote, it would be ran by Democrats, which would probably be a cool thing if voting was fair.
Yeah.
So anywho, you have these different factions that have voted, and it's about three different political parties that have come together to form one group. And what they're going to do, like people vote for the Speaker of the House here in the House of Representatives, they're going to vote in this new coalition where it's multiple parties, not one. This new coalition has leaders, and their leaders are going to interchange leadership every so many years. Now, a part of this group and why it's so important, a part of this group is actually Muslim leaders. For the first time, the leadership of Israel is going to include a Muslim faction or a Muslim portion. So you have people that are far right, you have people that are liberal, and they're all going to come together, form this one group, and they're going to have a new leader of the country of Israel. And maybe, just maybe, we may see people of color in Israel be treated fairly because now you have this group who's coming in to give it a new face. So I think it should be really, really cool.
That's extremely impressive. I'm here for that, honestly.
Yeah, it's really dope to see. I thought it was very, very good to see Representative Ilhan Omar, and it's great to have that. But then on the other hand of that, you have a representative that comes out as she is speaking to the world. She's saying, hey, the U.S. and a number of other groups have been just as deadly to certain regions as, she said, yes, for the political lesson. No problem, Kimberly Sharp. Thank you so much.
Listen,
I try to do her.
Okay.
Yeah. Severe nerves. So it's just basically that. So it's a very cool thing. I'm excited to see what they're doing over in Israel and see kind of how that'll carry out and how we can see people of color abroad. Because I think so many times we say Black Lives Matter, we speak about people of color, and we're in our little petri dish of a country, right? Not really noticing what's going on outside of us, and we kind of have tunnel vision. So I do celebrate the fact that Israel is coming out from under that type of regime. It's really cool.
I mean,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's gonna be out of the job. He's gonna be out of the job. Let's talk about the fact that Ilhan Omar had a couple of things to say. As usual, I love Ilhan Omar because she keeps it. Omar. She keeps it all the way real.
A buck, like for real.
Very much so. And I like that about her. So as she was bringing up the fact that the U.S. and a number of other countries have been just as deadly as Hamas and all of that, we really have to pay attention to the way that people of color are portrayed in the media. Not just people of color like Black people from your block, and you don't just want to see Black people as drug dealers. We also need to make sure that we're saying that we don't just want to see Muslims as terrorists. Okay, there are Muslim people in this country that have nothing to do with terrorism. Just want to raise a family, regular, everyday people, and don't take those one-off individuals and then make it a blanket statement for everybody, which kind of tends to happen. There was a representative on Twitter, and I just want to read to you what he said because I want people to understand the motivations behind the things that people do and say, and you hear it in the things, you hear the motivations in the things that they say. He says Muslims, and this is Representative Mo Brooks from Alabama. He says Muslims, more so than most people, have a great animosity towards Israel and the Jewish faith. As you have more and more Muslims in the U.S., as they gain greater and greater influence in elections, you're going to see more people like Ilhan, Rashida Tlaib, excuse me. So when you have an older white man like Mo Brooks from Alabama who's saying things like this, please do not think that there are not a number of other older white gentlemen who don't think the same thing. And those motivations influence laws. I want you to understand that. So when people come out and say stuff like that, you all should be getting a primary challenger together right away. But he is in Alabama. I don't know what district. Yeah.
Let's say this first.
Yeah.
If people really want to understand how our country works, you need to vote in all of your primary elections.
Absolutely.
Because the people that you vote in your counties, in your automatic districts, all of that is a trickling effect up to the person who's running the fucking country. So we can't sit and get mad when stuff is happening in our communities if we're not doing anything to be proactive about it.
Absolutely.
That have same mentalities and same mind states that you may have and might align with some of those same values. So do your due diligence, research your candidates, and pay attention. You don't necessarily have to be like a political scholar on these things, but open your eyes because you're
Kid Rock doubled down. He's another middle-aged white man. Don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to add this today because I want to hear your opinion on this too. Kid Rock doubles down on homophobia. He repeats anti-gay slur in response to the video. Kid Rock's hatefulness is showing again. Kid Rock is a Republican.
Girl.
And he seems pretty damn proud of it. While responding to the video of him hurling a homophobic slur, he's choosing to repeat the word and attack his critics. The singer publicly addressed the video. TMZ posted of him using at a Tennessee bar last weekend by tweeting this: "If Kid Rock using the word faggot offends you, good chances you are one. Good chances you are one. Either way, I know he has a lot of love for his gay friends, and I will have a talk with him. Have a nice day, Bob Ritchie." I want to understand that when did white, middle-aged white men get the opportunity to say who can say faggot or not, or decipher between what's a faggot and what isn't? When did that happen? When did that occur? When did Kid Rock become the authority on faggots? This is what I'm trying to figure out.
I can tell you when.
Oh, tell me.
You want to know when it happened? It happened when we dragged our black asses from Africa over to this motherfucking country that wasn't theirs in the first place. Most of those men who are like that come from an elitist type of energy, very what's the word I want to use? Like, they don't give a fuck about anything else. What they say goes. And they are very one, manipulative, and two, very persuasive when it comes to like-minded individuals who respond in the same ways that they do. Becky, Rock, girl, when was the last time you had a hit? So we can start there. Secondly, a lot of us in the LGBT community, and not just speaking from a POC standpoint, but speaking from a LGBT community standpoint as an overall, we don't like it. Our counterparts use the word faggot.
That's the point. That was my point. When did you become the authority? Because if you really knew what you were talking about, and you have gay fans, and see, this is the whole point of what I'm talking about. People say I have gay fans, I got gay friends. You know, different thing. I got a white person, I got a black friend, I got a black such and such. If you
have
really,
to say you got a black friend, save it.
Yes. So my whole thing is, if you are a friend to the community, as you say you are, right? You say you're a friend to the community. How is that possible? And you're using a slur we don't even like using amongst each other.
Because no shade, the faggot word, I had a girls fighting.
I beat your ass. You call me a faggot. That's literally how I feel about it. It's no coming around that, because it's absolute disrespect. And according to what it means, and a lot of people say, well, why did you get so offended about people using the word faggot? Well, let's discuss, right?
It's derogatory.
It's derogatory, and let's discuss the history of the word. I feel like I'm going to do this.
Educate.
Educate. I did this on Tea Party, so I'm gonna reiterate. So back in the UK, there was a group, okay, that in England, in a certain little village, in England they call cigarettes fads. Okay,
Yep.
They call cigarettes fads. So what this group wanted to do was kill all the gay people in the village, bring them to the middle of the village square, kill them and set them on fire like you would set a fire on a cigarette. That's where the word that's where the word faggot comes from. So people say stuff and they really don't even know what it means. So you're just supporting, when you say the word faggot, you're supporting the terrorism of LGBT people and you don't even know it.
Because I ain't no damn cigarette.
I ain't no cigarette either, bitch. You burn me, I'll beat your ass. Next, God forgive me, I shouldn't have said that. I gotta be professional. You ready?
Yeah.
I gotta be professional. Oh, okay. Your new governor over there, Joey, says Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced his plan to build border wall and arrest migrants.
See, I knew like this was going to be like a point of contention for me, moving from one red state to another.
But you're not. This isn't a red state, and neither is Texas.
It is.
Texas is purple.
That motherfucker red. I don't give a fuck with nobody.
All the black people, all Hispanics that have moved. The Hispanics is already there, but black people that have moved into Houston, moved into Dallas, moved into Austin, and all those other metropolitan areas, the same as Georgia, they have now changed the landscape of the political landscape of that state. I believe so.
Definitely. I think I can foresee, because just like being here for the time that I've been here, I can foresee switching of, how the state's political views are, because one, we in the South, two, a lot of those things that were like ingrained in us growing up, and especially for people who come from this area, a lot of those conversations, one, are opening, and two, a lot of those things are changing, and how society looks at things are starting to change as well. So absolutely, more upfront about, hey, I'm going to do my due diligence to know what's going on in my community as far as politics. I'm going to know what's going on as far as like the people in the community. I can foresee a color change happening just like it did in Georgia.
It is. I believe it's going to happen. I believe it's going to flip. I believe we can flip Texas. And Texas is actually very close to being flipped in the last election.
I would love to and as a senator in the state.
Yeah, it was very, very close. So I believe that if y'all get some of that gerrymandering and all of that cheating that they do down in Texas, if y'all get that under control, you can win. Thank you. Tamika Jonikin says it's just like calling a black person a nigga. We use it as a term of endearment, but if other races use it, we feel it's being used in a derogatory sense. I just don't like that to use
as a term of endearment, sis. I'm sorry. That right there, I love you. I get where you're coming from, but again, from my standpoint as a gay black man, I'm not going around calling my friends, "Hey, faggot." That's not
yeah. Like nigga is different. Nigga is for us uses the term of endearment, and I believe that's the word she was looking for. But there is no, I believe we're.
No, that's what she meant.
Yeah,
so we're the way that she said it.
Yeah, so for us, I believe we don't look at faggot in that way because I think we too close. I think people that are part of the civil rights movement look at nigga differently, and I think us because we grew up in a time where being gay was not popular.
No, and
I think for me it's different. For me, I'm like, hey, I don't know if I don't like that word.
I'm a millennial, and being a millennial, it was not very easy for us coming out. It was not very easy for us living our life. I graduated high school in 2006. So in the early 2000s, baby, no, you weren't getting any of the, let's, celebrate you coming out of the baby and shut your motherfucking mouth.
Shut up. Don't you say nothing.
Don't you say nothing.
You gotta get in this classroom. You're gonna hope you ain't gotta kick no ass when you get in here. But see, I didn't have that problem. I gotta say that because I grew up with people understood it.
And I want to also, in that moment, give this opportunity to shout out programs like the Milwaukee LGBT Center, Diverse and Resilient, and the Intersectionality Among Men program. I didn't have like that growing up in Milwaukee. I would not have the same confidence that I have today as being a gay black man in his 30s. So, yeah.
And then the other concern is surrounding it is some of us have very different journeys. Like for you were able to do that. Me, I was a church boy.
I was sneaking. I was sneaking myself, but
you were sneaking out there. That makes sense. So we got another thing coming up. Something else is happening. Speaking of insults, Trina and Eve are doing a versus.
Did you say speaking of insults?
Speaking of insults, I am insulted. If Eve ain't insulted, I'm insulted for it.
Okay. Why are you insulted?
This is not a good match. You know this ain't a good match. Come on, let's be real. Trina and Eve. Would you have picked them? I
personally wouldn't have.
Thank you. Who would you have picked? You would say Kaya.
No, I said Howard Kama.
Yeah.
Kaya Shimon would come fuck it up.
That's what I'm saying. If Gucci and Jeezy. If Gucci and Jeezy can do it, Kaya and Trina can do it. Because I thought Gucci and Jeezy was definitely gonna catch a charge. I ain't gonna lie, I was scared as hell.
Only that Kaya wouldn't even be a part of the conversation is because
but she keep acting like she's so above Kaya, and she's not. They make very similar music.
True, but I'll tell you why she's above Kaya.
Why?
They don't operate in the same marketplaces. So no, I'm not going to come off of my castle to throw peanuts with you on your Burger King crown, girl. Like
but she got peanuts and Burger King crowns too. Trina ain't got it like that. Come on, let's be for real. Come on. Trina is Grammys. She don't get me wrong, I love Trina, but just the same as Trina songs go off in the club, so do Kaya's.
They do.
And adding to that, they play them back to back.
I'm not taking that. I'm not throwing no shade when it comes to Kaya's music because Miss Good Pussy, that sauce. Okay, that's my shit. Says the baby, my shit. Yeah. Don't trust no nigga, my shit. However, what we have to also understand is that when you operate in certain marketplaces, Trina is a part of a major brand when it comes to love and hip hop. She's a pivotal member of that brand. And regardless of what entertainment get into,
Yeah, that same brand approached Kaya.
They approached her, but did the bitch sign on?
Nah, she didn't want to sign on.
She didn't want to. However, her not signing on means she's still sitting on IG Live and on YouTube doing the same shit she was doing before. She doesn't have access to the platform.
But you know what? If she kept her mouth shut and she played the game, I'm sad that I'm saying this, played the game because I don't like saying that. But if she did it the way that she was supposed to do it, Kaya would be on somebody's show talking shit. She would be on somebody's podcast. Kaya should have her own podcast. If she got the right team, Kaya would have her own podcast. We'll be listening to her.
But we have to understand too is when we're in our artistry and being artists, we have to learn how to edit. Editing is very important. Kaya does not edit. Kaya has valid points. But if she took certain tweaks here and there, say certain anecdotes and stories for certain things, if she felt the way, there's a way that you can present it. Baby, you a rapper. Your pen is sick.
Yeah.
Put that shit on wax. But no, you want to go and be messy on the internet for likes and comments.
Yeah.
And compare to the Love and Hip Hop check, a basic check. Because girl, no shade, that YouTube and that IG check from brand deals and stuff like that is not competing with what Trina get per episode.
No, but I still think it would be entertaining, and I think people would enjoy it more. And I think Trina would get way more views. I think they'll get way more views than her and Eve. But I'm gonna watch out of respect for both of the artists. I love them both, but I just don't think they're good men.
I also applaud Versus for creating that lineup. One. Two, I also agree with the fact of it would be more entertaining, but then I also do think that this could also be something that can transition Trina's career, because Eve is talk show fish. She's very much good morning, like that's her now. She's not Love Is Blind tattoo titty Eve no more. So I think being on this platform and sharing this space with Eve, it can elevate Trina a little bit more. Because no shade, I love Trina. Trina still look back at it is definitely a staple in my household. That's what we clean up the house on Saturday.
Definitely look back at it, it's an anthem. I don't know for who, but it's definitely one.
Oh, I'm trying to concentrate.
It's an anthem. Hey, you ain't never. I was down in Houston and Trina came on, and the niggas was like, "Look back at it, look back at it, look back at it." That's their shit too. Don't ever get confused. It ain't just us. So wait a minute. We brought Coach Sarita Valmont. She is here, Coach Sarita, who you've heard what we discussed. Hello to everybody. Welcome to the show. Clap. You've heard what we discussed as far as the young lady Ebony, her accusations against Frank Nitty. Another young lady, J9, also had accusations against Frank Nitty. Against Frank Nitty. What is your take on all of this?
I think it's a hard situation because there's so many pieces that are so many chess pieces that are involved in it, where it's like, okay, you're hearing one thing and it's a lot of hearsay, and that's where the problem comes into play. When there's so much hearsay, it takes just one person to take that piece and run with it. And that's what's really going on right now. And honestly, it's like, first, you got to make sure all the information is out. And until then, it's really just the court of public opinion at this point. So it's like, you can really say, one way or the other. And, being a woman myself, it does make things difficult. Let's talk about it. The Black woman is what?
Host. Y'all could be disrespectful. Hey, wait a minute, hold on. Let me add to this. A lot of that disrespect come from y'all.
See, from there. Look, I said from there. Look, I feel like I'm pulling myself back.
They disrespect each other more than anybody can.
You know what I'm saying? What we're not gonna do is that.
I'm just pointing it out because when I watched that lady, when I watched the young lady Ebony say her story, some of the most nastiest comments came from other Black women.
Oh, and that's the sad part. That's honestly the saddest part of it. And that's the thing. But then you also got to take a step back and look at, too, these are a lot of hurt people. And just the same goes, hurt people hurt other people. And until they go through their process of healing themselves, they're going to always try to throw those rocks because they don't know what to do within themselves. So they're like, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have did. Don't shit on people, because we know you got something in your closet that you don't want anybody else to pull out. So don't do that.
Absolutely. It's always concerning when I watch women handle each other like that. I'm like, that is not cool.
No.
Go ahead, Jeff.
But like what we also into inside of our community being Black people, like generational curses are real. And a lot of those negative conversation as far as Black women downing other Black women and not being 100% believed in any situation, that comes from things that were taught. And it's not even necessarily coming from the mother or the grandmother. These are things that are coming from generations past, 5, 6 generations past. So a lot of that, one, has to be broken down, and two, it's extremely unfortunate. It just has to be more positive women out here leading the charge to change the narrative and open up those conversations. Like, sis, I ain't got no problem with you. I mean, you no harm or nothing like that. I support you, but let's get the facts.
Right.
Absolutely. And you really have to look at it as a thing. I understand when you follow, it's like kind of like having, because I equivocate. That's a word, ain't it? Equivocate.
Sure. This is your show.
Right. I was going to
say. Yeah. I'm going to show y'all how to spell it later. Equivocate. I equivocate. You can say yes. I was like, I equivocate that to, damn, I done lost my thought because I was trying to figure out.
I'll go ahead and jump in. I'll jump in.
You go, when I get it back, I'll come back.
I'm just going to, piggyback off of what, what we were just saying here too, is the fact of, going back even to slavery times. A lot of us, trying to down because we're trying to save people. And that's what a lot of it was. Like, for example, if it was a person, a mother and their son, and the master's looking like, ooh, your son, he's doing real good out here, in this field. He's stupid. No. And that was us trying to protect because we didn't want to have our families broken apart. And that's something that just continues throughout the cycle. And now people are going through doing the same thing and not realizing that it's even just like playing the dozens. You sitting there, messing with people and everything like that. It's all going back and it's all coming back again. And it's things that need to be healed and it needs to be taken care of and be like, you know what? No, we're not going to go ahead and do this. I'm here to pull up my brothers and sisters and make sure they're okay. That's what we're supposed to be doing and not, this whole crab in the barrel situation.
Come on.
No. Go ahead, Joey.
No, I'm just agreeing. I'm churchy. So,
so you gotta put your hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Believe like I got to know.
Amen. Yeah, right. That one. So if we're looking at this, let's take a look. If we're saying, okay, we want everybody to be protected. So Rita, what do you give? Because I was speaking with one of the alleged victims and she says, I feel so drained from all of this. What advice would you give them for their spirit, their mind, how to get through all of this?
Well, the first part for anybody is honestly just that forgiveness of self. Because sometimes you get upset with yourself, like, man, I shouldn't even went there. All those, like, I shouldn't even put myself in the situation and things like that. And it's that first part, it's like, okay, I need to forgive myself and say, you know what, stuff happens.
Right.
That's the first part. Because honestly, it ends up being part of a grieving process when you really kind of go back and look at everything. Because it's like, okay, you start from the shock, all the different steps in grief. You're going through all that. But the first part I definitely would say is just to forgive yourself and be like, okay, now what's the next steps? What am I going to go ahead and do as far as for healing myself and making sure that I'm going in the right direction going forward and making sure that you also have a good support system as well. But also too, even going into your own self-love, feeling like, you know what, if you got to do, like, for example, if you got to do mirror work and say to yourself, I love you 1,000,000 times in the mirror, go ahead and do that. Because at the end of the day, you first got to make sure that you're okay with self. And that's a hard pill to swallow because a lot like
these are two young women, and I believe both young women were able to say this, that they had past traumas. So the way they handled this trauma was very similar to how they handled their past trauma. And that wasn't always the best. Can we say it like that? That wasn't always the best reaction, number one, for themselves, or to help people like themselves. Does that make sense? So what would you say to someone who has just gone through what these women, let's say they actually have gone through what these women are saying they're going through, right? And I'm just saying this because we ain't proved, I'm not saying it because I don't believe it. they're saying they're going through or went through, excuse me, that's happening to them now. How do we advise them to react? How do we advise them to process it? How do we advise them to move forward? How do we advise them to protect their energy?
Well, I would say first thing is that their feelings are valid. That's one of the things, because, you know, a lot of times people will try to tell you how you're supposed to feel, how you're supposed to do everything. So that first part is however you're feeling is valid. And, you know, it's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to let them out. A lot of times, too, people will hold on to those emotions and it just eats up inside your body and causes so much damage going forward as well, too, internally, that then comes out externally. So that's that first part right there, that they need to be able to go ahead and just, you know, do that. But also, too, making sure they get that support that they need. So if they do need to go ahead and see a specialist and be able to go ahead and break those things down and be able to talk to someone that's, you know, judgment-free, confidential situation. Because you can't go and talk to your friends and stuff like that, because they're going to drag you, unfortunately, because they might say that they're okay with what happened or whatever, and they might try to support you, but there's always still going to be that one, unfortunately, that is going to go ahead. Right. So, I mean, that's the thing. And so just being, you know, mindful of that. And so that's really honestly the beginning steps of being able to go ahead and heal yourself. And like I said before, being able to, you know, acknowledge what has happened, you know, good, bad, and different. You know, and being able to go ahead and just acknowledge that and just forgiveness is the biggest thing. Go ahead and forgive yourself.
Right. Now, let's have a conversation. And this usually doesn't happen. I'm probably going to throw people for a loop when I say this. Okay? If you're Frank Nitty and these accusations aren't true, okay? That's a big if. If these accusations aren't true, how do you continue to be a public servant? How do you continue to lead? How do you continue to understand the cause, understand the end goal of your movement while going through this? How do you do that?
I need him to have a good PR team.
Wait a minute.
I need him to hire some PR. That's the first part of it, to be able to go ahead and actually, you know, have a conversation, because I'm gonna say his coof was like how Nicki Minaj was saying, the coof, you don't have it.
You don't think he has coof? Well, you know what? Let's be honest. Frank ain't never really been. What is his movement, DD? I thought it was the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, if he got something different, you let me know.
Is there another one? That's what I thought it was. What was the point of the march to Washington?
Yeah, like it's. I thought that was his movement. I thought he had a movement. I thought that's why y'all was talking about him. I thought that's why y'all was following him, because he had a movement. That was my understanding from the outside looking in.
My good sis said.
I don't know if you follow him per se. I can't say it's just you.
He needs a PR team. Period.
Yeah.
Period. Because he's not going to know how to properly manage that narrative just being himself. Because let's keep it a buck. When self steps up inside of us, automatically it's survival mode. I have to defend myself at any means necessary. He could be very well innocent in all of this, but he could say incriminating things that are automatically going to make society and the marketplace look at him as being wrong anyway.
Absolutely.
And Tamika said she thought it was the Black Lives Matter movement too. I thought it was the Black Lives Matter movement. I thought that was his movement, not belonging to him and not any ownership, but where
that was the movement that he was helping to progress.
Right.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, I thought that was it. I thought that was the thing. So, and she said exactly. When we are looking at this, because this is a whole thing. So we've addressed the young ladies, we've addressed Frank. What do we say to the community as a whole and how to move forward from all of this? How do we take a step forward? Do we have the conversation publicly? Is this a public forum? Do we need Frank to be a part of that public forum? Because Didi has pointed out that she does not have faith that he would actually attend anything like that. Do we need Frank to have that conversation? Is this a conversation Frank needs to be a part of? Are we throwing Frank to the wayside, or are we saying, how can we redeem Frank?
In my opinion, what's the point?
If we're following the thoughts of Didi says that's the problem. He don't do nothing in the community. The march is something he got from Tory Lowe. He is an entertainer.
Okay, thank you. So, like I said, what's the point? If he hasn't done anything for the community and he's a part of the problem, why do we continue to give him a platform?
And so, she said if he does attend, he'll talk around everything. Oh, Didi, I'm good at what I do, babe.
It's like, girl, if you gonna keep giving him opportunities to say and do as he pleases, he's going to continue to do and say as he pleases, because we are very, very impressionable. As a lot of us don't have a strong sense of self. So we attack onto other people's missions, bandwagons, all of that.
Yeah.
To have some sense of completion for ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? Piggybacking off what you're saying here, we also have where at the time of Black Lives Matter, when tensions were heightened, right? Yeah. We were out in the streets. We were asking for certain things. We were pushing our agenda, and then it was like Biden won, and everybody kind of went back home.
Right, which is not the case, which is like, you know, everything should still be continuing because nothing has changed. I mean, let's look, for example, let's take it to with the Asian, you know, hate things that are going on. How did something get signed so quickly? And we've been going through this stuff for decades.
Yes. I'm about to turn this off because I literally had that conversation.
Yes.
And no shade, I have a lot of Asian and Pacific Islander friends.
I do too.
And, you know, growing up in Milwaukee, especially if you grew up on the Northwest side, you grew up with a big Hmong community around you. So in my eyes, I look at them from coming from a lot of the same struggle that I came from in the city of Milwaukee. However, what we are not going to forget is the struggle and what happened built off of our ancestors back. We can't get nothing signed.
Yeah, but let's be clear. They were not Asian people. You know what? There were indentured servants that were Asian. There were such thing as Asian slaves.
Yeah, go back to the whole entire thing that's happened to the Japanese in terms of
Asians have also been through. Yeah, they've been through a lot as well. You've had the Japanese were in internment camps. A lot of things that African American people have gone through mirror what Asian people have gone through. I think the people that forgot were the Asian people.
Right.
You know, and being the model minority, you have to separate yourself from the people that look like they're the problem. And for so many years, Black people look like we were the problem if you didn't know any better. So absolutely, there's a conversation to be had between the Black community and the Asian community. It definitely. And I do kind of raise my eyebrows up at the fact that we can't pass an anti-lynching bill in the Senate, but we can absolutely pass a Stop Asian Hate bill, which is a little interesting. That's a little interesting to me. So that's the word I'm interesting. I really want to use the R word, but you know, they don't like that. If he is an entertainer, why are we still entertaining what he's doing by still talking to, and this is Tamika Jonathan, by still entertaining, if he is an entertainer, why are we still entertaining what he's doing by still talking to or about him? Any publicity, whether good or bad, is publicity. If he's not valid, stop talking about him and people will eventually forget about him. Cancel culture is a real thing.
That's because if you give somebody an audience, they will perform.
And you know what? Yeah, that, and then the reason that we have to now have the discussion is because we as a community, these women have come out and basically said, this is what happened to me. And they sat on the table. And everybody, it seems like a number of people that are at this table would rather look in the other direction. They actually say, hey, y'all see that? Did y'all hear that? You know what I'm saying? We have to address it as a community. Otherwise, we won't be taken seriously in this movement that is supposed to be the Black Lives Matter movement. We won't get taken seriously. You know what I'm saying? We won't get taken seriously in having a Frank Nitty show up to speak on our behalf with authorities or anybody else when the authorities are in the back of their mind, this man is alleged to be a rapist.
Right.
Why would I ever want to hear anything he's saying? And do you think they don't know that? That he's an alleged rapist? They don't know that? Alleged. I'm saying alleged. Alleged. You know what I'm saying? That's not alleged for him. They have that understanding. And so how do you think we're ever going to be able to get any further when we send him in the room?
And I think too is that there's people that want to help, but then they don't know how to help, and that's a whole other conversation as well too, because there's so many things that are like behind closed doors that we're not aware of that are going on. That's like you almost in essence are putting yourself on the chopping block when you're going ahead and going in and trying to do these things. And if you don't have the thick enough skin and things to be able to go ahead and do that, they will run you out of this town. And I think because of him being who he is, you know, they're trying to work with him at the same time because they, you know, they're like, okay, we can see what you're trying to do. We'll go ahead and give you a moment. We'll let you go ahead and say what you need to say. But I don't know if they're honestly really taking him seriously. I'm just putting it out.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that Frank knows how to get people's attention. I don't think Frank knows what to do with the attention. Can we say it like that? I think Frank knows how to get the attention he needs. I don't think he knows what to do with the attention once he gets it. Outside of asking people to send money to his cash app.
Yeah, that's when we need that PR team again.
Yes, Didi says, I don't believe he out here doing what he's doing. He has a whole code. He can put out of cities around the country for representing families and collecting money, not giving it to the families. Didi sent it to me. Is he trying to be a bootleg Al Sharpton? Is that what's going on?
Oh, baby.
I'm trying to understand. Errol said that part. I didn't even know that what was going on. He don't have the right intention with his attention. He said he doesn't. Didi said he doesn't have the right intention. Isn't that extortion? Have you been brought up on charges for it? I wouldn't say extortion. I would say it's fraud. It's definitely fraud.
It's fraud, yeah.
It's definitely fraudulent as hell. It's definitely fraud. If he's doing that, that's fraudulent as hell.
And my question is too, like, again, we give this man a platform, we give him an audience. Who's out there trying to support these families? Mm-hmm. Who's out here really trying to, you know, we're saying.
And I don't want this to overshadow. There are other Milwaukee actors. There's Vaughn. There's a number of other. It's one more. It's a number of other Milwaukee actors, and I want to apologize to you all. I don't want you to think your work is gone unseen. It is seen. I just can't keep all of your minds in my all your names in my mind.
My comment has nothing to do with the other Milwaukee activists. The point I'm trying to
make. I'm just saying we're speaking about Frank, and we're bringing up other names, and it's kind of seemed with us having this conversation so much about Frank, it kind of gives the impression that there are not other people out here doing the work. So I wanted to make sure that they didn't feel overlooked. It wasn't about you.
They definitely are doing some things, and that's the thing that you are, you know, being able to recognize that too. It's just unfortunately, as the saying goes, one bad apple can spoil the bunch sometimes. That's why I was trying to, you know.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying.
It says no, but families are definitely at him. Ask the Cole family. Tamika said it's illegal. Have his ass arrested if we have the proof. Didi said there's Khalil. That's his name. Didi, why didn't you give me his name earlier? Khalil. Khalil is one who said that it was his idea for him, Vaughn, and Frank to sit down and have a conversation. That was off Khalil's Facebook page. Thank you so much for that, Didi. There's Marquez. Spell it how I'm supposed to say it, Didi. Marquesa. I always tell them to do that. Marcasa, Vaughn. We know Vaughn, yeah. And then there's Eros. Am I saying your name right? Eros Valentine. MAARPR has been supporting the Call family where support has fallen through. I want to get familiar with that organization. Eros Valentine. Has anyone went to the police? So MAARPR, I gotta find out what that organization is. And then it says they've been supporting the family where Marquesa. Okay, Marquesa, gotcha. Do y'all call him Mark for short? I'm trying to give him a nickname. I don't even know him. Do y'all call him Mark? I'm like, y'all say the whole thing every time.
We always got to put somebody's name up. Be like, is it just M? Mama.
Can I just call you M?
I'm calling Mama.
Call you Mama. I'm like, no, my name is Marquesa. Like, no, call me my name. Thanks. I'm definitely like, look, I ain't gonna remember that, especially if I'm a little inebriated. I'm gonna call you Mark. I'm like, Mark. I ain't gonna be able to get it out. Y'all know it's a woman. Oh, Kesa. Oh, you thought you had me, Didi? Thought you had me? Look, I'm like, Kesa. This lady just got 3 years for collecting funds from a GoFundMe for 3 motor victims fraudulently. Yeah, that's why I said it's fraud. It's definitely fraud, and it's fraud that has to do with money instruments. So what's going to happen is that's fair time. Anyway, so
But
I'm just going to say that if he did it.
But that's the difference, though, because if you're doing Cash App, you can't really trace the Cash App. But if you're doing a GoFundMe and you're sitting there saying that it's for a particular thing, that's how that person got caught. So people are, people are getting smart about these things and finding the, the workarounds when it comes to these different situations. So Cash App is definitely a workaround.
Yeah, it says so many people have tried to shake Nitty and them off for clout chasing in many different ways. Wow.
At this point, stop talking about them. Stop giving them an audience. I feel like that's going to be the only way to really stop people from garnering support around him.
Yeah. You said he's always on Cash App. Yeah. So I'm just now looking at the fact that we have a community that has to heal from it, and our activists. It looks as though we have. Okay, I'm gonna say what it feel like to me between Von and Frank. This looked like, I don't know, like a two group that like broke up. You remember that movie with Bernie Mac and Samuel L. Jackson?
Go away.
I'm just saying. I promise you, that's what it looked like to me. I was like, look.
Are you talking about Soul Man?
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. I'm trying to understand why they beef. I get the beef. I get the initial accusation beef, right? I understand that. But I want to know what happened behind the scenes. That Von has a dreadlock wig. He has flyers that he has made. There is a sign with protesters with him that got Nitty face on it, and he looked like a clown. He like the clown It. And it's like with Nitty face right here. Sir, what are you doing? Are you a comedian or an activist? This is what I want to know. Somebody said he messed up and showed Von his Cash App when he, from Von being in jail, it only gave him a small portion. So is the real problem money? Is Von upset that he didn't get part of that money? Was part of the money due to Von? Is that really what it was? Eero said nothing happened. He said nothing happened. Diddy says Von does the work. Frank gets the money for appearing to do the work, including Cash App that Von should have gotten that he did.
So like Diddy said earlier, he's an entertainer. Entertainers get
Eero says literally all ego. They just need to go to therapy, like for real.
But that's what I said.
I feel like Von and Frank need couples therapy. They need to figure it out. It's like they had a bad divorce. They need to figure out what's going on between that.
Like,
I'm not laughing at the accusation. I'm laughing at the fact that Von and Frank seem to have this thing. And I'm like, what is this?
Some type of mediation needs to go on, because if we're going to keep it real in the situation, none of this is conducive for any of the growth that they're trying to do for any.
No, not any other work that they're trying to do. Khalil, who's another activist here in the Milwaukee area, has offered, right, to have a sit down, all three of them, and have this conversation. I don't think that conversation should happen in private. That's just me. I'll say what y'all said. You can throw Khalil up in there. You can throw Khalil up in there too. Really? Well, he offered. He extended the olive branch. I will say that I saw it. I saw the stat. Eros Valentine or mediation. Right. No, Frank watches, but the other activists do, and he replicates it. Well, I got a question.
That's life.
Yeah,
so I'm not gonna fault him for being human.
Right.
I mean, if somebody sees what you're doing, you both have the same goal, and they see what you're doing is working. To me personally, if you both have the same goal, though, that's key. And from what is being communicated from the people, is they don't think that his goal is to advance the people, is to get money. All I keep hearing is money.
If there's no heart behind it, what's the point?
Yeah.
But we also got to pay attention to where we're sending our money to.
Absolutely.
You know? Because I ain't never sent the man a dime.
Because baby, as soon as you send that Cash App over, Cash App doesn't have any customer service. Sis, that 22 whatever you didn't send over to this man trying to be up for the cause, you're not getting it back.
Right.
No. He ain't gonna give it back either. He ain't giving it back till God gets back his hairline. You I'm just saying. He not gonna get it back.
I'm gonna reel it back in and just say that, you know, at the end of the day,
he's not giving that money back. Diddy said T is
they got
I spilled too much tea. You better say right there. T is people been talking to Frank for years and he keep doing it. Diddy said that part, Mike.
Stop talking to him. Stop talking to him. Stop giving him the audience. Stop bringing him up in the conversation. No shade. I'm drained.
Yeah.
And I'm not up on everything that's going on, but like, this is too much.
Listen, I watched it. You know, I spoke with the different people, but after you get into all this stuff, you don't even know this is what's scary. You don't even know all this stuff is going on.
Right.
All of these different things, you don't even know what's happening. And it's sad because you up here thinking that, oh my goodness, you know, we got people marching for the cause. Things are happening. Milwaukee was in DC. We have representation. Milwaukee has representation with Frank, has representation with Vaughn, has representation with this person, that person. And then you hear all of this mess all this mess going on behind the scenes. Right? So then what you gonna do?
Shady comment. Bye,
or you watch the lives from their march and realize your money went up his Diddy.
It's been fun, y'all. I've had a
allegedly, Diddy, you run the show.
I've had a great time. This has been very informative.
Diddy. Allegedly. Diddy, we're gonna say allegedly for Diddy. Diddy, allegedly.
I'm not gonna yuck nobody yum.
Listen.
I'm not gonna yuck nobody yum, however, comma.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a whole lot.
Yeah.
Diddy just do something else and it just made me just go, whoa.
It like
Malcolm and Martin definitely would never. They would never. People have to speculate what Martin and Malcolm thought of each other. And actually, in public, they spoke very highly of each other. Me and you both, Joey. I'm over it, and I don't even know the whole story. Listen, I don't want to know. I do want to know, but
I don't care.
It seemed like a lie.
I hate to be like that,
but I want people to be okay. Like, I want people to be okay. I don't think that we should have stuff like this going on in the Black Lives Matter movement. So I definitely think that should be kind of pushed out. But at the same time,
what I feel like is happening is that a lot of personal is getting thrown into this story when it comes to a lot of the people on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
We have all of these.
5 a.m. live. He had with the producers in the house.
Like, everybody want to be empty and everybody want to be E-News.
Yeah.
Suggest a therapist. Suggest.
I'm always, you know me.
There's a whole list of Black therapists that they can go to if we want to try to keep this in the community. That they
definitely
can go
sit down and have with them.
Yeah, and offer.
I feel like it's going to be one conversation. This is something that's going to take some serious unpacking.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, all of these activists, regardless of who's doing what, one, we need to understand, or they need to understand why they're truly doing what they're doing in the community.
Absolutely.
Is it for self, actually for community? And two, get to the bottom of the childhood traumas that are now resonating and coming up that's allowing all of their slips to show. Because I'm not, again, rest to everything, but from what I'm hearing from the comments, all of them got some shit.
Right.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it, but I would like for us to find a way to be able to get people held accountable and make sure the movement is cleared up so that we can move forward in a way that happens. Do you think there should be some more organization when it comes to these type of movements within the Milwaukee area? Do we think that we should be looking at individuals, sending money to individuals? Do we think this should be more of a organizational push than a personal person that you're sending cash apps to? Because the organization is held accountable, whereas this person in this cash app is not.
I definitely think it should be organizational. And that's the thing, because it's really looking like, it's honestly looking like the government. You know, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And they can be trying to do the same thing. And then you also got people's egos that are coming into play, where they you know, get from out of that. And then just like Joey was saying, and we got all this other stuff that needs to be unpacked behind that as well too. And you can see all this trauma is coming out live in action on Facebook Lives and all these different things going on as well too.
Yeah.
All being
I'm following Vaughn, and I follow Vaughn, and it's a lot. But I don't want to feel like I'm watching an episode of Power where you're leaking all of this information for your own personal gain.
Right.
That I don't want to feel like I'm participating in something like that. Tamika says, yes, we need organization because, baby, this ain't it. It definitely ain't Tamika. And then here we go. Didi says the organizations get paid, but they do surface level stuff. Well,
Didi,
why does that have to be that?
I love you down. I love you down. But what we're going to have to understand, I'm someone who has worked in nonprofit. That's going to happen. That's going to happen until you get the people inside of the nonprofits that are going to be willing to volunteer. And that's the word, volunteer wholeheartedly without receiving any coin, without receiving anything monetarily, doing it from the kindness of your heart to support these different movements. It's not gonna, it's gonna be surface level, because you got to understand this baby is working off of this salary and this budget. You only gonna get what that salary and that budget requires them to do in that time frame. They're not doing anything more. They're not doing anything less.
Do we think the churches should be doing more?
The churches,
I do.
That's a whole nother live.
Yeah,
I do. I think the churches should be doing more, because the difference between our civil rights movement now.
Baby, we got to get into the churches supporting the actual people who are in their buildings paying tithes.
Can we talk about that?
I don't want to.
Lord. Listen, you know, I've always great. But you know what? They said they're not jumping up to go support families at vigils, or running to put homeless in hotels, or go get domestic violence, or go get domestic violence and go get DV. Help me understand that, baby. In situations,
basically, community policing.
Yeah.
Us being accountable. I agree. I agree with that 100%. I'm all for community policing. However, that all still has to be done in proper ways. I's have to be dotted correctly. T's have to be crossed correctly. Like,
absolutely,
nothing's going to be solved if we keep, saying, okay, well, we're for this, but they need to do this, or but they ain't doing this. That's counterproductive.
It is. It definitely is. So I want to say to the both of you, I'm going to give you a last word, both Joey, Coach Sarita. Let's go with the lady first. Coach Sarita, what's your last words?
I feel like my last word is always going to be in the same. Heal yourself, people. Let's go. Just work on self. Work on that self-mastery. Go ahead and get yourself together. And I think that's going to be what's going to put us all into a better situation to begin with. Go ahead and heal them traumas. It is okay. It's okay to seek counseling. It's okay to go ahead and do what you need to do for yourself and make sure you are the best you that you can be. And that way you can get yourself out of situations like this.
Definitely. Joey, last words.
My last words are going to be on the same lines. Self-awareness is important, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of the time when you get to know yourself 100%, you will alleviate a lot of issues that you have with other people, with confidence, all of that. So self-awareness, 1, and 2, I'm going to piggyback. Heal your motherfucking self.
True. Definitely heal yourself. All right. Thank you. I guess my last words will be for the night. Man, I don't think I have last words. I don't even know what to say about this, y'all. At some point, we want to make sure that the healing absolutely does happen. I think I'll piggyback off what the other two said, what Joyce Rhea said. We absolutely want to make sure that we're healing in this community. I think it's going to be very important as well for us to make sure that we are organizing ourselves in a way that we can keep things like this from happening in the future. we have to also know who we can trust. We have to also know who we can move forward with. And if we're not vetting these people, then we're going to run into issues like this consistently. The fact that there's accusations that Frank is going around the nation and scamming families, or the fact that there's other stories that may be about other activists and the things that they're doing, and the community doesn't know about it. The community as a whole isn't aware of it. That's an issue. And so we absolutely, while we can say we're going to mind our business, and while we can say we're going to take a step, it was fun having you all too, Tamika and Nitty. So we want to make sure that we are not only holding Frank accountable, we're not only holding our activists accountable, that we're also holding ourselves accountable for the things that we allow, right? So let's take some time to do some self-reflection, as my two co-hosts have previously said, which is wonderful. I want to thank Joey for coming in and being a guest with us today. Robin Reese was not in today. She has some business to do with onmilwaukee.com.
I love you, Robin.
I'll tell you, so everybody give a shout out to Robin. Y'all tell her how we did. Y'all tell her we did good while she was out. The kids behaved.
but before I go, I want to say, Michael, I so appreciate the fact that, because Robin's your good girlfriend and y'all kiki already. We wanted so I was ecstatic when I saw that she was coming aboard for Front Row. Like, I'm okay. This is gonna be some good conversation because Robin's a good key.
Oh, Robin's dope. Oh, Robin's amazing. I love Robin. Robin is just that's my favorite part.
She's a Reese. You know how I feel about the Reese family. So
all the Reeses are lit. Every Reese is lit. Didi said y'all behave. I didn't. That's true. That's very true.
She was feeling tea.
Didi said I came to snatch wigs and take naps. Okay. If we want to be specific, she came to snatch dreads and take naps. Let me get up off here. I love y'all. Shout out to you all. Love you. We'll be back next week. Make sure y'all tune in to Kitchen Table Talk, where we get a chance to sit down and talk about everything. I'll release the promo for that. If I go and look at my calendar, our guest for Kitchen Table Talk coming up, I should know that, and that is going to be Miss Shana Washington. So she'll be here next week. She is actually a business consultant. So she'll be sitting down, eating with us, telling us about our lives, telling us about what she does and her mission, and kind of giving some advice on how we can move forward. She's written a book. So you definitely want to make sure you tune into that. Definitely want to do that. On Friday, our Front Row is going to be with the hairstylist. If you ever see the viral video where the young lady in the Milwaukee hair shop pulls a gun on the hairstylist, we're going to have Miss Didi Styles in the building. So she'll be here with us, and we'll be talking with her about all of that.
Milwaukee never ceases to amaze me.
I'm definitely going to book. I'm like, I got to book this. I got to talk to her because I need to know what all happened here.
Okay. Right.
How did this happen? How did this escalate to the gun? Like, how do we get to the gun part? When did that occur?
Or a quick weave? I'm confused.
I'm confused. When I saw the gun, I'm like, over $45? Gee. And for what she says, she is a returning client. So I'm like, you put a gun on her and she know your name. She know exactly who you are. So we're gonna have that discussion. On Friday, she'll be here with us. So definitely make sure you tune in. It'll be really, really fun. Really fun, Lord. It'll be informative and interesting to see. So love y'all. Love you all. Thank you for sitting with me tonight. And y'all have a good rest of your day. We're going to end the broadcast. Joey, sweetie, you stay right there. Clap. Clap it up.